Wife, still clearly living there but out for the night. Silicor, still too recent to be discounted as having an effect on Steve. Myself, wearing a wig and high gloves, haven't touched the man, haven't touched anything. No prints, no DNA, no evidence. Would you like a drink? Steve asked me as we walked through his gorgeous living room, glass furniture all around. He headed over to a small dry bar in the corner. Why don't you let me get you something? Don't you have anything more interesting than scotch and brandy? I asked. How about some liqueurs? Blue curacao? Ever had a drink called the Genie? It makes it so when you come, the vibrations are amplified 10 times over and extended by minutes. Care to try? Audibly licking his lips, Steve smiled at me, his precocious bar slut, and said, No, I've never had a genie. Why don't you make me one? I think there might be a bottle of blue curacao in the kitchen. Corner cupboard, near the sink. Good. You sit back and relax now. I walked across the room and through a door into the kitchen. Steve was out of sight. I got to work. First I looked in the cupboard he had directed me to confirm. He really did have blue curacao, noticing he also had vodka, gin, and scotch. I looked under the sink and saw what I had hoped to find, a bottle of Drano. I poured some into a small tumbler I found in the cupboard. Oh, I thought to myself, it actually does look like a drink. A disgusting one only a frat boy would drink. I went back to the cupboard and took down a tall water glass, filling it about a quarter full with water. I put an ice cube in each glass, picked them up, and walked back to the living room, curious about what would happen next. Here you go, I said in a seductive voice as I walked toward him. I'm just having a shot or two of vodka before I have a genie to give me an extra edge. Tell me what you think of my creation. I handed him the glass as he stood to receive it. He held the glass out to me. Here's to amplified orgasms. He tossed the entire contents of the glass down his throat. Immediately he looked up at me, gasping. Reaching out, he started walking towards me. I backed away with a smirk on my face. He tripped over the leg of the glass coffee table beside him and teetered for a moment before crashing through it face first. A shard of glass punctured his throat and blood began spurting out in a comical arc. I felt as close as I ever had to bursting out laughing as he lay there twitching on the floor amongst the ruins of his table. Taking care to avoid the blood, I walked over to him, took his hand, wrapped it around my water glass, and placed the glass on a little table across the room. Suddenly, the scene looked familiar to me. Smiling to myself, I uttered the words, "Corn nuts," before turning and walking out the door. I lit a cigarette, walked a block down to the canal, found a dark corner, took off my wig, turned my jacket inside out, fluffed up my hair, walked a few blocks, chain smoking, and flagged a cab. When I got home, I threw the wig and clothes I was wearing into the incinerator. The shoes I dropped into a bin for Value Village a week later. It was ruled a suicide. No investigation. That was my first. But not my last.